Let's move on. Let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers and their new quarterback, Trey Lance, all right, from North Dakota State University. I mean, there's a lot to like about this guy, right? He rushes. He's got the strong arm. He's really accurate. Given all that the criticism may be and everything that comes with it, small school, all the other things, there's a very good chance that we don't see Trey Lance this year, especially when, we've seen Jimmy take this team to the Super Bowl. That defense is coming back healthy. Those offensive weapons are coming back healthy. There's a very good chance that Jimmy G takes the reins, starts off hot, and we're not going to see a Miami situation where they have a great first half of the season, and then all of a sudden they're like, let's give Tua the ball. I don't think that's what will happen. If Jimmy starts off strong and the team starts off strong, they're going to ride Jimmy through. But I'm going to hand this one off to the 49er professionals in the building. Jacob, I'll start with you. Is there a chance that we see Trey Lance this season if the Niners are good, which we all expect them to be?
I think the only way Trey Lance becomes the starter is if Jimmy gets injured, I think. Because I don't know if non-Niner fans have been following this, but as soon as Trey Lance was drafted, Jimmy Garoppolo asked for his phone number, called him, welcomed him to the team. And apparently Jimmy has been in the know on everything that's been going on this whole time, that Shanahan has been keeping him informed and telling him before they even traded for the picks. He told Garoppolo that they were going to do this. And Garoppolo's being a team player. And I think that's great for him, because if he mentors Trey Lance, plays well for the 49ers, he's auditioning for his next job. And so I think, and I don't know if you guys have heard Shanahan talk. He said, and this might be coach speak, but he said Lance is not ready to compete with Jimmy Garoppolo for the starting job. So I think Garoppolo is going to be the starter this year as long as he stays healthy. Trey Lance, I could see Trey Lance coming in, every once in a while or something just to see what he has. But the second he breaks a big play, people are going to be calling to put Trey Lance in the game. But look, this team has Super Bowl aspirations. So do they think this guy's ready? A rookie quarterback's ready to take him to the Super Bowl this year? No. But so that's hard. So do you even draft him in a redraft league? Probably not. I mean, Niner fans are going to, because we're Niner fans. We love our guys. But as just an unbiased fantasy manager, I don't think he's one quarterback redraft worthy.
Yeah, if Jimmy G starts the season, only uneducated fantasy football players who are Niner fans are going to draft Trey Lance. I can't see that happening.
I don't mind taking a flyer on him in the last 2 rounds or something, but if it's just that. But if you're looking at dynasty-wise, he has the upside to be the best quarterback in this class, and I think 2 or 3 of these guys do. And of course, Lawrence definitely probably has the most upside, but I would not be surprised if fantasy-wise in 3 years, Trey Lance is the better fantasy quarterback than Trevor Lawrence.
I don't doubt that, but in a redraft league, I'm not touching him. I'm not handcuffing a QB. I'll spend a waiver wire pickup on him, or spend a lot of fab once I know he becomes available and he becomes a starter in San Francisco, because I know of his capabilities, just like you mentioned, Jacob. But I'd rather throw my dart throws on my sleepers and all those picks, because you know what? Very likely at the end of the draft, one of those 2 guys who you spend those last 2 picks on, they very likely sometimes hit, and I want one of those guys to hit. And I don't think Trey Lance will when he's just sitting there, so he's going to take up a spot for a while. Joe, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, guys, one thing I want to push out there is it's May 6th, right? We're 4 months from the league actually starting, and a lot could happen, right? And I know
but our dynasty drafts are like in 2 weeks, now? Joe. We need answers now.
Dynasty, you take Lance, right? Because, I mean, I guess it depends. If I'm sitting there saying I need a quarterback this year, I rank Lance as number 5. If I sit there and say, hey, you know what, I've got a couple good quarterbacks, I might be able to sneak by with Lance without Lance this year, but I'll get him next year or the year after, then maybe you take him 2nd or 3rd. He's in that conversation. I don't think he's ahead of Lawrence, because he's not going to provide you day one value. And I don't think even long term he's going to be better than Lawrence, even though he has that rushing ability. But Lawrence has Aaron Rodgers type ability where he can run and he can be the best thrower in the NFL, right? So if I have to sit there and say, hey, do I want 25-year-old Aaron Rodgers, or do I want, maybe Lamar Jackson with a little bit better of an arm? I'm taking Aaron Rodgers every day. Like, I know that Lamar Jackson had an amazing fantasy year, but then the next year he kind of struggled. So that's how I feel about it until we see some more. Lawrence is definitely ahead of Lance for me. But I'll say in a redraft, guys, Kyle Shanahan said a few things. Number one, he said in his little, smoke screen before the draft, he said, the 49ers want a starting quarterback. He said those words multiple times. We are looking for a starting quarterback. Now, you could take from that what you want, but then after the draft, he came out and said, hey, we looked at all of these guys, and we thought that Trey Lance was more ready to go today than Mac Jones was. And he's been called the smartest quarterback in the draft. He's been called that he can look at a playbook one time and memorize it, right? So this is a guy that we may see him this year regardless of Jimmy gets hurt or not, Jacob, because what's going to happen is if we go on a 2-game losing streak and Jimmy doesn't look good and we're not competitive in those 2 games, and this could be week 6, it could be week 2, it could be week 12. I don't know. But they may say, hell with it. We're going to Trey Lance. The other scenario is, let's say Jimmy ends up getting hurt at all. It could be another Alex Smith Kaepernick situation. Alex Smith only went out for was supposed to be, 2-3 weeks? Kaepernick comes in, kills it. We never look back.
I was at the game. Alex Smith got a concussion and Kaepernick came in. I'll never forget that. It's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. So I listen, I'm not taking him in a redraft right off the bat. But I'm sure as hell keeping an eye on what's going on in San Francisco. I mean, I'm a Niner fan. But for you guys, I'm keeping an eye on what's going on in San Francisco. Because the second that Jimmy starts to falter, the fans are going to be calling for their head. They're going to be calling for Jimmy's head. Put in Trey Lance. Put in our future. So I'm not going to rule him out. And I say if he gets to play this year, I have him as number 2 or 3. Because he does have that rushing ability and he's playing for the Niners. But if I have to wait, then obviously he's number 4 or 5 this year.
Yeah, I'm not saying his comp is Patrick Mahomes at any level, but
no.
I've been telling this to a lot of people. It's like, I know Trey Lance will be great, and I hate to say it because he is a Niner, right? And I want to see them suck really bad. But the thing is what I always tell people is, would you rather have a guy that comes out really kind of – I know, Joe, you made the comments about how he can read the playbook and memorize it and all that. But at the end of the day, would you rather have a guy that comes out and is kind of shaky year one and develops a lot of bad habits, scrambling habits that he doesn't necessarily need? Or would you rather have a guy that sits, for a season or maybe even 2 and learns the playbook and then comes out and he performs like a Patrick Mahomes does? I want that guy. And I'm not going to get that this year in fantasy for Trey Lance. So maybe next year I can make a trade for him or not. But in redraft leagues, I'm off of them.
But, Gabe, it's not that cut and dry, man. The NFL isn't what it used to be. You don't have to sit for a year. That's what I'm saying is we've seen Herbert, we've seen Kyler, we've seen Josh Allen.
True.
If you're in a good system, and also, guys, as I mentioned again, we're 4 months from the season. The Niners can talk about we're not trading Jimmy all they want. If the Broncos miss out on Aaron Rodgers, they need a quarterback. And if they come to us and say, hey, we're going to give you a 2nd-round pick for next year, or hell, we're going to give you a 1st-round pick for next year, or hey, let's say Big Ben gets injured in the preseason, knock on wood, I don't wish injury on anybody. They might call the Niners and say, what's the price to get Jimmy G today? And the Niners can avoid that quarterback controversy from day one. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know, but I'm just going to say my thought is it's not 100% clear that Jimmy G is a Niner day one. Like, things can still change. There's still 4 months of time before we get to that opening day.
Yeah, very fair. And I get it. I know that these guys coming out are firing out the gates and everything. I was just making the comparison to Mahomes and that, some of these quarterbacks will need time to develop. Not everyone, but some will. And Trey Lance very well might be one of them, and he may not. And all of these things can happen because we're 4 months away from the start of the season, and we're really just kind of giving our best educated guesses right now, which is why you're listening to us today, because you're thinking the same thing too. What if, what can happen? We're laying out the scenarios for you. Justin, we're moving on to Justin Fields, but I'm going to give you first cracks at it in the essence of time. So let's talk.
What did Justin say about Trey Lance?
Well, let's talk about Justin Fields. We got to move on for time.
I'll make it quick because
Go ahead,
what I
go
want to
ahead.
say is relevant because what you
Oh,
all say
God.
is true, but this is what wins leagues, to be honest, because we play in very competitive leagues and in Dynasty it's a no-brainer. You want to grab him quick, but in redrafts with a quarterback situation like that, when Jimmy G sucks or gets injured, that guy's gonna play his heart out to keep that job for the coming years. So what you want to do is stay on top of it. And if you come week 4, week 5, and you have some garbage that you don't need, drop him and pick up that QB that may win you week 10, week 11, week 12 to get you that chip. That's all I'm going to say on him. What we know
Yeah.
who he is, we know what he is, but that's how you win seasons because you don't expect Roethlisberger and Stafford to be garbage and you draft them. These are the QBs that help you stay relevant. So I'm looking to keep my eye out and pick them up earlier than later in redrafts.
100%. Know your knowledge. Justin, I completely agree with you. We don't know what the future holds. Like I said, we're 4 months away. But same thing. It doesn't take much to read my phone, realize Jimmy broke his arm or Jimmy's benched, and then I go out there and spend a waiver wire. If you really want to do your research, you might pick up Lance a week before or 2 weeks before if you want to get ahead of the game. That's for you. All I'm saying is, it's not for everybody.